Hi friends, it's Deanna here today, and today we're going to be working on a Daphne Dolman. This dolman is super cute. It's not just a plain simple dolman, but it's got this really cute kind of like a peplum style skirt attached to it. It's got an option for a drawstring, a faux placket with buttons, some really cute flowy sleeves. So today I'm going to be working on the version that's got the faux placket, it's got the drawstring, it's got the flouncy sleeves. I'm super excited about it. Let's get started. Alright, I am using this waffle fabric and I already cut all my pieces up. I've got my, let's separate, this is my back bodice here. These are my flounce sleeves, my neckband here, my drawstring, which I cut my drawstring into one long piece. You go ahead and you can cut two pieces and sew them together, but my fabric it was wide enough that I could cut it. I folded it and I was able to cut it on the fold, so that's why I have one piece, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. My fabric is shedding. My other front piece, and this is my flounce skirt. Okay, so we're gonna get started with our bodice. Now, if you are not doing your placket, you can go ahead and continue on to the next step, but we're gonna start with our placket. I've got my two pieces. Now, one of my front pieces, make sure we place them correctly, right sides up. So here's my two pieces facing right side up, and you can't tell here, but once you put it on top of each other, actually this is the side. When we put them on top of each other, you will see that the part with my placket, I'm placing them right sides together here on top of each other. You will see that the one with the placket is longer. See, it's wider. You can see here that this is shorter than the other piece because there's a longer section here when you cut out the placket version. So we're gonna place them right sides together here at the front, and then we're gonna go over to our sewing machine and we're going to sew this together with a 1 1/4 seam allowance. So we're gonna go on our sewing machine and do this part because we're gonna come in and go a 1 1/4 here and top stitch and stitch this down. Okay, so if you want to, you can mark your fabric by grabbing a ruler and measuring 1 1/4 and then sewing down that way. We also have a marking on my sewing machine, so I'll just use the marking on my sewing machine to make sure that I sew a straight stitch right here. Here's my placket here, and we're just gonna flip it over and steam it down. All right, so then we're going to tack it down. And what you can do is you can do a basting stitch first on this side to kind of mark where your placket is, and then we'll go to the front and top stitch it down. So we're gonna top stitch on this side of the placket, so make a little top stitch in line, and then we're gonna also top stitch on this side of the placket, so it's top stitch on both sides, and then your placket should be right there in the center. First, I lengthen my stitch and I'm gonna do a basting stitch. Then I set my stitch back to a normal length and I come from the other side. See where my basting stitch is there. I can see where my stitching is going to be next. On this side, we're just gonna go right along that edge of the placket. So there's my little edge of the placket. We're gonna top stitch at a 1/8 seam allowance. Okay, and then on the other side, I'm just gonna go right next to that basting stitch and top stitch on that other side. And now our faux placket is completed. All we gotta do is remove that basting stitch and we've got that little cute little faux placket, if you can see it there. And that's where we'll put our buttons later. All right, I'm going to remove that basting stitch first so I don't forget about it. When you do a long straight stitch, it's so easy to just pull it right out. It comes right out. All right, so our placket is completed, as you can see here. You can see it better here with my light basting my light bobbin thread here. That looks really good. Next, we're going to grab our back bodice and we're going to place it right sides together at the shoulders. Now, if you're doing the sleeve version, not the flounce sleeve, you would, once you sew that up, you would open it up and fold the allowance to give it a crease, a memory crease, by creasing it with steaming it with an iron before you sew the sides. That makes it easier when you go to hem the sleeve afterwards. But since I'm not doing the regular sleeve, I'm doing the flounce sleeve, I'm gonna move on and go ahead and sew those side seams now. So we're gonna match up those side seam right sides together and sew. All right, while I'm over there, another thing I wanna do is grab my flounce and my flounce sleeve, whatever, if you're doing the long flounce or the short flounce, and you can go ahead and hem it now. I am actually going to leave mine raw because I don't mind this being raw. Actually, maybe I will hem it because it's kind of shedding a little bit. I cut my fabric on something on my mat and it caught and it like pulled on it, but I think it will be fine. So sad when you do that. I don't know if you've ever done that. Snagged my fabric is what I was trying to say. So we're gonna go ahead and hem the bottom of our fabric. And a lot of fabrics, you know, knit fabrics, if you don't feel like hemming, you really don't have to. The raw edge works just fine. I might not even hem it. But if you're hemming, to hem a circle like this, what I like to do is I like to fold it and then kind of stretch the fabric over to help it do its little turn. You see, if you just fold it and kind of pull it a little bit, it turns nicely. And a lot of times I'll go ahead and steam it first and then that helps me. But I think I'm just gonna leave it raw because it looks good. To me, it looks good raw because it's just a knit fabric. So I'm going to leave mine raw, but you can hem right now. Let's go sew this up. All right, now once those are sewn, those side seams are sewn, we can open it up. Super excited, this is gonna be adorable. Now, if you're doing the regular sleeve, right now is where you would just hem the sleeve here, but I am doing my flounce. Actually, I think I have my other flounce over here. Let me grab it. Since I'm doing flounce sleeves, this is when I'm going to go ahead and attach them. I'm gonna grab my flounce sleeve and set it up on my mat or wherever, and I'm going to mark my two sides, and then I'm going to match up right sides together. So this is the right side out. I have my fabric right side out now, and then the right side of my flounce is going to be touching the right side of my fabric, and we're going to match up those seams, the bottom and the top seam where I marked my fabric. And then I'm just going to match up my fabric right sides together, right sides together, and sew it on. I'm going to do the same for the other one. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and sew those up. While I'm at it, I'm going to put them to the side. I'm going to grab my neckband. And the first thing you want to do, if you have fabric that's kind of moody and gives you a hard time, you may want to fold it wrong sides together and create a crease by steaming it with your iron. And I'm gonna just go steam it over on my table over there real quick. What this does is help the fabric to have that crease there, so when you go to attach it, it folds easily, and it doesn't try to, like, I don't know, get crazy on you. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and match it now, right sides together here at the short raw edge, and we're gonna sew that up. And this is how we prep our neckband. While I'm at that, I'm also going to grab my flounce and just prep it. Even though we're gonna do the drawstring, I'm just gonna go ahead and prep my flounce by sewing it right sides together here at the short raw edges. That way it'll just be sitting there waiting for me when I'm ready to work on it. And if you're gonna hem your flounce, you can go ahead and after you sew those sides, you can go ahead and flem your flounce. Flem your hounds. Hem your flounce. I might not hem my flounce. Oh my gosh, I cannot say these words. I may not go ahead and hem my flounce yet and see where it fits, where it lands at my waist, and then decide then if I want to go ahead and hem it or not. Because with knits, you can leave your knits raw. So a lot of times I do that, and I know that's a personal preference for a lot of people. Comment below and let me know what you think. Do you like to hem your knits, or are you sometimes a little, daredevil and end up leaving them raw? Let me know. All right, it's already looking super cute. So excited. We're gonna move on to our neckband. Couldn't think of the word. We're gonna fold that neckband back, wrong sides together, just like we had it when we steamed it. And clip the seam here. And then we're gonna find our quarters. If you have trouble with your neckbands and then turning out correctly, make sure you check out our bands video that goes over how I do my neckbands to have a good neckband every time. I promise you it works out. Okay, sometimes it doesn't when I'm doing a video and I get distracted, but for the most part it works out really well. So one of the tips that I love to give is cutting a little notch on your fabric to mark the quarters. Now for this fabric, being that it's a waffle and it has, like, if you see that, like the raggedy edges, sometimes it's kind of hard to see the little cut, but sometimes it works. So I still mark it with a clip. So then you match the front and the back and you mark your quarters, your sides. And you do the same to your neckline here. You grab your shoulders and you go to the front, which is the middle of our placket, and that will be your half right there. And then you match your shoulders and go to the back. And then you match the front and back, and then get your sides, which are not your shoulder seams. Your neckline is lower at the front. Well, usually, yes, it's lower at the front. So if you use your shoulder seams as your quarter points, your neckband will look wonky. And I didn't realize that when I first started sewing, so you live and you learn. Now we're gonna grab our neckband and match up right sides together those points, those quarter points that we created. We'll head over to our sewing machine and sew that up, but as you all know, I like to do more than one step at a time. So since now we have our neckband here prepped, and our clips are so good for that, it just stays on really nicely. Pins sometimes slide out. That's why I love to work with clips. We're gonna go ahead and attach that skirt now that's already sewn on the sides. That would be your next step, would be to sew that skirt together, the flounce right sides together on the side, but we already did that, so it's ready to go. So we're gonna grab it here, and we have those two side seams. We can mark our center so we know exactly where the center of our skirt is going to be, and mark the center of our bodice as well. I am going to be doing, like I said, the drawstring version. So I'll have a drawstring which will bring the bodice in. If you're not doing the drawstring version, it will be a little bit looser fitting, which I also love. So I'll be doing that version next on my own. Not a video, but that's what I'll be working on. But if you are not using the drawstring to bring stability at the waist, we suggest that you use a clear elastic when you're sewing both of your fabrics together, right sides together. Go ahead and fit in a little bit of clear elastic in there. You don't stretch the clear elastic, you just sew it on because it adds stability to the bodice. And then we're gonna grab our body here and match up our skirts right sides together with our bodice. So match up those points. All right, so if you're not adding a drawstring, you're just going to be sewing these two right sides together, the skirt and the bodice, and you can just go ahead and sew that on your serger. but I'm going to be adding a drawstring. So what I'm going to do is kind of the same thing as I did with the placket. Instead of sewing the edge, I'm going to go in an inch and sew that, because I'm going to create a casing for where my drawstring is going to go. So we're going to go in from the edge, an inch in, and top stitch that all the way around. I'm going to be using a stretch stitch on my sewing machine, so I'm just going to use like a zigzag stitch because I still want it to be able to stretch. I don't want to do a straight stitch that when I put it on is going to pop or whatever. It is a little bit looser fitting here at the waist, so a longer straight stitch will probably be fine, but I would rather do a stretch stitch. So I'm going to do a zigzag stitch. You can do a zigzag stitch, triple stitch, lightning bolt stitch, whatever is your favorite stretch stitch to do in your sewing machine. So we're going an inch away from the edge, and make sure that your edges, see right here, they're not matched up. Make sure that you match them up. Your raw edges are matched up together. For the neckline, I like to sew it face up on my sewing machine and match up those quarter points, pull and sew. All right, if you're not doing placket buttons, if you're not doing waist drawstring, your blouse is done. But since I'm doing those other things, we're gonna move on. I just lost my little piece of interfacing I cut out. We're gonna open up our bodice here, and we're going to trim away the extra seam from the bodice. So not this, here's the seam. This is where I sewed, as you can see here, my inch seam allowance here, where I sewed up the bottom of my where I sew up my skirt to my bodice. And we're going to move away the bodice allowance, and we're going to trim it down carefully. This is the scariest part. All right, now once that's removed, here on the skirt area, so here's, I want you to be able to see my placket here. Here's where my extra seam is here, if you can see it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it up, and I'm going to place here a little piece of interfacing. If you're going to be doing the drawstrings, you'll have to add some interfacing here. It's going to be an inch, because that's how much allowance I have. And that's where I'm going to put either grommets or buttonholes. If you're going to do buttonholes or whatever it is that you're going to do, that's where you would do it, right there. All right, once you've added the interfacing, you need to decide what you want to do. If you want to do grommets or if you want to do buttonholes, either one would work. I'm just going with grommets. And so I'm just going to mark my grommet area and attach my grommets. Make sure that they're attached within your inch allowance here. I mark my fabric where my grommet area is. Then cut a little hole where my grommet's gonna go. I'd rather it be smaller than my grommet, and then me have to make it bigger later than for it to be too big and then my grommet is just loose in there. Then I'm gonna grab my grommet and bring it through. Then I'll grab my other side of my grommet. Hold on, bring it all the way through, come on. This part I have to do somewhere else, because I'm going to put it over my little grommet stamping thing and put the little stamping thing on top, and then I'm gonna hit it with a hammer. And so let's go ahead and put those on first, and then we'll come back and do the rest. All right, once the grommets are attached or the buttonholes are done, we're going to go ahead and flip this allowance towards it and top stitch it down. You want to top stitch it from the outside, but what you can do first, if you want to, you can go ahead and do a basting stitch first from this angle, like we did with our placket. Baste it down first from this side with the long straight basting stitch, and then flip it over and stitch it down with a stretch stitch from the other side, so that way you know exactly where it needs to go, and your casing won't have like a gap on it or something like that. Now for the drawstring, like I said, I already made mine in one long drawstring, but if you want to, you can, if you had to cut it on 2 pieces because your fabric wasn't long enough, you're gonna match it right sides together and sew it together. And once it's sewn together into one long piece, we're gonna fold it wrong sides together because we're going to create a drawstring. So we're going all the way down, wrong sides together, sewing it together. All right, let's go do that. We're almost done. All right, so to be able to get that good look, I'm gonna go from this angle and just do a big basting stitch all the way around, pushing that seam towards the skirt. Whoa. That was weird. Oh, shoot. Forgot. I just went through the grommet because I forgot the grommet was there and I forgot to go farther down away from the grommet. Oh. Bo. Bo's like, what happened, Mommy? What happened? He's worried about what happened. You'll make sure that you check that you're not gonna run right over your needle. All right, let's do that again. And this time, let's not run over our, whatever you call them things. What do you call them? Grommets. Let's not run over our grommets. Ay. I totally forgot about the grommets. All right, now we go to a stretch stitch, regular size stretch stitch, and we're going from the top and we're going to follow that basting stitch. Now I can remove that basting stitch. I'm gonna twist this around right side out. Now that it's all turned, and well, I gotta pull this basting stitch out. Let's pull this basting stitch out. Not only is it easier to see, but it's easier when it's when it's time to pull it out, to be able to see the stitch if you do it with a different color. That way it's easier to see it. Like right here, I can still see it, and I can just pull it out. All right, the last thing we've got to do is to feed this drawstring through, and then we'll be done. I am so excited. It's looking so good. I love this color too. It's gonna be beautiful. I already have other ones of these that I am planning on making. I'm super excited. Okay, this one's too big. I was wondering if it's gonna be too big, but I just decided to go ahead and try it. It is too big and it is not working right. All right, let's look for a smaller one. Should probably try it before I, and then after I'm done feeding it through, I'm gonna try it on and figure out if I want to hem it or not. And then we'll be done. That's it. That's all there's to this top. I'm super excited. I'm gonna go try it on and show you what it looks like on. You let me know what you think. Okay, now once I get this drawstring through, I'm going to tie a knot here at the end of the drawstring so it's not going to go right back through that whatever you call it thing, grommet. I couldn't think of the word, and then just kind of cut the end that I don't, the extra length. All right, let me go try it on and you let me know what you think. Y'all, I'm finished and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. Wait, there's something missing. Buttons, I gotta add my buttons, but so far, I have to show you because it is adorable. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and add my buttons now. But yeah, so cute. Well, I couldn't make up my mind on what buttons I wanted. I had a couple of options. I had this option, I had black, which would make it a little bit more dressy, or a wood one that would make it a little bit less, more casual. So we had Bo pick, and he picked this one. So that's what we're going with, and it's kind of in between both of them. It's not the dressier option, but it's also not the more casual option. And so we're going with this option. And so all we gotta do now, because this is a full placket, I'm just gonna attach the buttons, make sure that they're evenly spaced out, and get to attaching. Let's do it. All right, friends, we are finished, and I love how this turned out. It is so stinking cute. I love it. The buttons complement it so well. Bo did a good job choosing. The sleeve flounce, I did the short sleeve flounce with the short skirt flounce and the scoop neck. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't. Go grab your pattern and come back and sew it up with me. And I'll see you all next time. Bye!